And we are freaking live, and I'm sitting on a pair of pants. Hi, angels, and welcome back. Welcome back to another vlog episode of mine. If you're new here, I have been trying to post a fucking shit ton, and it is a lot. So we are going to get real, and we are going to get serious, and we are going to dive into today's topic, okay? Now, I was in a very interesting mood today. Some very unhinged, strange things have been happening to me, which we'll touch on in today's episode. But nonetheless, I know that I'm in alignment. So have you ever had those days where everything is just weirdly eerie? For example, everything is weirdly coming together. So, for example, today, I was in my car. I was very much looking for a sign. I was in my car. I was driving in South Boston, and I look up, and on my windshield, there's a ladybug. And I was like, oh, a ladybug. I'm going to take a picture of it. It's so cute, you know. Tried to take a picture of it. It flies away, obviously. Didn't get the picture. And I was like, that's a sign. I keep driving. I go from South Boston to Framingham, and that is about, actually, to Natick, which is literally on the Mass Pike. I was driving, you know your girl, driving a little too fast. And there's another ladybug on my windshield. And I was like, that has to be a freaking sign for me. Has to be a sign. In addition to that, I saw 777 about 4 times. I saw 111, 222. It was 444 when I started recording this. So there are so many synchronicities and signs. Also, a really interesting thing that happened today is I had clients earlier in the morning. I was at my office, and while I was at my office, I was talking to my client about something, and I went to go show her something on my phone, and I sat down next to her, and my Heaven affiliated neon lights, which you would see if you go to my page, just turned off. Both of us looked at each other, and she goes, I guess the power went out, and then it turned back on, and I was like, weird. So it's been a day. I have today, and I felt very compelled today, I should say, to discuss authenticity, okay? I am so fucking tired, so tired of putting on a show. I don't do it anymore, thank you. But putting on a show of what I am to draw people in. And what I've noticed, and I've touched on this, is that I have never seen so much abundance in my entire life than when I just owned who I am. And I got very comfortable, and I don't like to say the word confident because I lack confidence. I have body dysmorphia, so it's something I struggle with. But when you just kind of get comfortable being able to express yourself. And so it has fueled my fire recently for some reason, because some people will say to me, for example, Mike, I have three children, 3 boys, and a parent said to me, I would never post what you post on the internet. And I felt slightly attacked because I don't have a ton of confidence. Second of all, I felt it was very judgy, and I was like, interesting. And it kind of sent me like, why can't 2 things be true at the same time for some people? For example, why can't I be an incredibly funny and charismatic and sexual and entertaining human while also being a nurturing mother? Why can't those 2 things fill the same space for some people? And so I had this fuel kind of burn inside of me. So I want to know for you guys, I really do. I want to know who you are, and not anything crazy. You don't have to get too into it, but I want you to know by embracing who you really are, by being funny, by being dorky, by being charismatic or silly or liking the music you like, you're really attracting a lot of abundance into your life. In my last mini episode, I talked about how dressing as your Venus sign attracts a lot of abundance, and that goes off all of astrology. There are so many planets that you want to utilize, so many placements, houses that you want to look at when you're looking for certain things. But what I wanted to talk about today is how I'm seeing a lot of success with people who are honoring themselves, not just in astrology. And I obviously, I'm in astrology. I love astrology. I utilize astrology. I think everyone should, but it also just goes on what you're feeling today. So don't think that you can't be listening to this if you're not an astrology person, or that you won't understand it, because it's not just that. But a few things that I wanted to talk about today, and something that I feel so inspired by. Sabrina Carpenter, my girl, has posted a photo of her album cover, and I will pull it up for you, okay? Because I think it's pretty iconic. Please hold. Okay, so album cover. Okay, and album cover. So the album is titled Man's Best Friend. It's coming out in August. This is an incredibly sexual photo. We are going to be talking about it on Toxic Pod, so I don't want to go too crazy into it. But essentially, I thought, holy shit, she's honoring herself. Despite what anybody else thinks of her, she is really honoring her authenticity, her voice, her passion, her power. And honestly, she's getting really incredible attention from it, both negative and positive. And I looked at her and I thought, I just felt so inspired, because she took something so... Literally, the album's insinuating that she's a bitch, right? Like, that's the point of that album. And I looked at it and I was like, that's incredible. That's incredible. It's actually quite magical to have that be put out there in the way that it was put out. And we're going to see her level up even more than what she already has. The other thing is that I see right now is Machine Gun Kelly, who went from, and I'm not saying this was inauthentic to him, but he went from being like rap and more gangster, more like that side of things for a while. And now we see him in this punk rock, like also rap, but like grungy, like wearing choker necklace, painting his nails, anime, like all of this stuff. And I look at the way his album has just come out, or his song, Cliche, and it came out and it got so much attention, both negative and positive. I'm not saying you have to dislike or like it or sharing my opinion on it, but what I will say is that I see so much happiness in both Sabrina and MGK. Now, granted, this is public eye stuff. I wouldn't know how they feel on the inside, but my point being is that the attention and the authenticity behind it is so beautiful and wonderful to see. Now, if you guys follow me, you also know that Post D is my fave. And I see it with him too, is look at him making this switch into like country music and embracing himself. And I don't know if he's ever been so successful, And so seeing that firsthand, it really also fueled my fire, is like giving you guys a message and leaning into myself is like, just be yourself. Just do what you're being called to do. And you'll see the universe or spirit or anything around you kind of reflect the abundance that you're putting out. Like, if you're confident about who you are, no matter what it is, you're going to have more success. And I'm not going to say there's not going to be haters, because there's always fucking haters, but we know. But I think what's really important is this authenticity. And I think oftentimes when we see people fall from this high that they're on, it's because they're being inauthentic. And so with today's episode, I wanted to just kind of give you guys a little bit of insight or hope or skill set to to kind of reframe your brain into looking at yourself as a very powerful and magnetic positive being. So I always trust the universe and what's coming into my life. And recently I've gotten a lot of work around this type of stuff, how to be authentic, what moves to make to get closer to, your divine path or your purpose or whatever. And today I was sitting with a client and we were discussing some of the obstacles in life that were coming up for them. And I won't at all share details or anything like that. But what I told her is, I was like, what we need to do is take all the things that you look at about yourself that are negative, and we need to spin them into a positive. We need to reframe. So for example, impatience was something she talked about. Or what was another one that we talked about? Oh, she's really annoying. That's what she said. She's like, I'm scared I'm annoying, or whatever. And so what I said to her is, I was like, I want you to make a list of all your good qualities. And then I want you to make a list of all your bad qualities. And then we're going to put a positive spin on your negative qualities, quote unquote negative. So for example, with impatience, I was like, write the word impatience, and then next to it, draw an arrow and write eager or excited or something like that. So instead of saying I'm so impatient, say I'm so eager, or I'm so excited for this next event, this next scenario. And same thing with the annoying part. I said, instead of saying you're annoying, say you're charismatic, say you're outspoken, say you're confident, whatever, like excited and passionate and whatever. And so that is something that I want you guys to work on. It's a really good tip, reframing yourself so that you don't look at the individual qualities that you have within yourself as a negative thing. We all have negative qualities, and it's definitely empowering and impactful to look and be aware of those negative qualities. However, when we're so stuck in the negative and we frame ourselves in that way all the time, it can do the opposite of what we want and pull us away from our authenticity and our individuality. So for me, I always say I'm crazy, or you're going to think I'm crazy. You're going to think I'm crazy. And it's because for so damn long, people have looked at me and they have thought that I was freaking crazy for wanting to be a psychic or an astrologist or a tarot card reader, or thinking I'm crazy for doing insane shit that I do. And I struggle with that quite a bit. And I'll like laugh about it, and I'll be like, you're going to think I'm crazy. And I laugh and I like tell this little story. And my therapist, fucking everybody should write her a thank you note right now. She said to me, she goes, Alicia, craziness doesn't really have any validity to it. Like, if you were a crazy person, you wouldn't have customers coming back and telling you that what you said was validating, or what you said, aligned with them. Like, she's like, that wouldn't be the case. So stop framing yourself as crazy and frame yourself as something incredibly powerful. And another time she said to me, I was talking about years ago, and it still happens from time to time, I was very fixated on people's perception of me, and I wanted so desperately to be like the most perfect person. And after years of therapy, I realized that doesn't really exist, obviously. And one time I was talking about how somebody was blaming me for a lot of their downfall, for a lot of the problems in their life. And my therapist said, wow, you are an incredibly powerful person. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, look at all the power that this person is giving you, that they think in their mindset that you are the reason that all of this has happened. She's like, they must think you're incredibly powerful. And I remember that spin, and I thought, you know what? You're right. You're right. So here's the thing. The whole point of this spiel is to tell you guys that being yourself, being authentic, owning your negative, but spinning it in a positive way and looking at it with excitement and awareness is going to give you so much more than you could ever possibly imagine. And we see that with celebrities. We also see that in real time with our friends and our family members. How many of us know somebody who created something or fell in love with somebody because they finally stopped caring about what other people think, or they finally decided to take this leap of faith. And there's so much power in that. And the other night I was sitting down and I was thinking to myself, like, holy shit, holy fucking shit. Like, I'm so tired of trying to fit in a box. I'm so tired of, like, everyone who looks at mediums thinks that I'm like a crazy person who like is full of shit or Googles, you know, people's experiences or needs to be in a straitjacket or whatever, and doesn't think that I sit down and eat chips and like watch TV, or that I have feelings, or that I have, like, everyone thinks I'm all like love and light all the time. Probably none of you that listen to this because you're my OGs, but I am not love and light. I get angry, I get frustrated. I think everything happens for a reason, but I'm not always happy about it. I'm not always excited and like thanking source and God. Like, it's just not the way it works for me. So I think what's important for you to realize about myself is that I'm not the type of person who's going to I'm imperfect. I'm not the type of person who's going to be preaching all of this bullshit on you. Like, I don't think you need to journal every time there's a full moon. I don't think you always need to have a crystal in your bra, and I don't think you need to be all love and light. I think you can be a little bit of spice and frustration, and I think you can scream at the universe at the top of your lungs when you feel like it's just not fucking fair. Not fair. I've done it a million times. And that's okay. And it's honestly being that way, being authentic, listening to yourself and having the self-awareness and also gratitude, because it's important, is going to push you so much further in alignment. So please look at some people that you admire and look at their strengths and look at how far they've come and look at the abundance that they have in their life due to their authenticity. You're going to feel so much better and you're going to feel motivated, or you should at least. So I would love to hear your thoughts on authenticity. I would like to hear your thoughts on, you know, if you want to bring pop culture into it, seeing your favorite celebrities who have popped up and being authentic. Billie fucking Eilish. That is one I wanted to touch on and I forgot. Billie the Goat fucking Eilish. I'm sorry. Idol, icon, amazing, creative, empowering, beautiful being. Be like Billie. Be like Billie. So hopefully this episode helped you kind of just listen to me. It was some thoughts on my mind, so I just felt like sharing. I love you guys so fucking much, and you're perfect the way you are. Don't forget it, babe.